You're live.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. It's super cool to be here tonight or today. It depends on where you are. But for me, it's already the night. For George, so welcome, George. Is
Well, thank you.
it's all it's the so yeah. Where are you located, George? Maybe where
I'm
are you
in
based?
I'm in the Philadelphia area in this United States.
Yeah, okay. So it's super early for you. Then.
Yeah. Well, it's lunchtime. Yeah.
Lunchtime. Okay, that's great. That's great. So we are at 7 participants right now, waiting for like a few minutes because it didn't started yet. It's like unofficial, but we have like a few people from the team. We have like external people. Hey, Alban, Rémi, Benjamin, Suyash, welcome guys. Um, Maybe I can share like a few rules before starting. So you have like on the right the right bar you have like a little tab questions. If you want to ask any questions, just feel free to ask your question there. If you want to chat and show your love, just do not hesitate to put like to use the chat as well. um, hey Morgan. So Alexander, if you want to, oh yeah, I can invite you now to participate. That's great. You were right, George.
All right.
Hey Alexander.
Hi.
So that's great. You're live now. So if you want to share like a few words about you, because I have a slide for your brother, so George,
Sure.
but yeah, maybe we can just wait yeah, few minutes, and then
Sure. I'll be happy to. Um, my name is Alex Mcknight. I'm with Blunt Software. I've been developing software for over 20 years, and we have a really cool product that we like to show, Catwalk, and it connects with Qovery. It's a code generator, and yeah, we're really excited to be here.
so that's great. Thanks, Alex. And maybe George, if you want to introduce yourself, could be great as well. We start in a few minutes, but we already have like a few people here, so
Sure.
feel free.
Yep. I'm George Mcknight, and Alex and I are brothers. We've actually been programming together for about 20 plus years, and predominantly I work on front end components and React and Angular and Vue and some things like that. And then Alex does a lot of the Java and backend and Hibernate and Spring. But we both can work on either one. It's just we have strengths and weaknesses, and so we try to lend our efforts towards the thing we're the strongest in. So um, typically, I do the front end, he does the back end, and so we've built a system that since the last 20 years has been quite a few applications that we build based on database schema. We decided to build something that could automatically generate a starting application that has the schema intact with all the services for Angular and all of the Spring and Hibernate repositories and things that we need to start that application. And so right out of the gate, if you define your model, you can start immediately with an application that's running with a front end and back end that's got a good starting point. And after that, you can put the rest of your code. And with something like Qovery, it allows us to then take everything that we've built and deploy it quickly to the internet so that it's available to all of our users. And so we see a lot of cohesion between the two applications.
Yeah, you're kind like the next layer on top of, we are the next layer on top of the cloud providers, but you're building like the next layer on top of Qovery.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Okay, so maybe we can just start because yeah, people will join, or maybe they will not, but they will see like the record. Normally we are much more than that, but it happens. But yeah, maybe the guys from the team, if they want like to send, so Morgan or Remy, if you want like to send a message into the Discord, it could be great, just to say to the guys that the community guys that we are live right now. But yeah, let's get started. So yeah, welcome to this new community call. Obviously, we are doing that every month. So just to introduce quickly myself, so I'm Romary, the CEO and co-founder of Qovery. I have like engineering background. I made like tons of things during the last 10 years professionally and also personally. And now I'm running like Qovery with my all team workers and my fellows. So yeah, today, so as always, we are going to cover so what we were working on during the last months. Obviously, what we are going to work on next, and then we jump like super quickly on the talk from like George and Alexander. So concerning Catwalk. So first, thanks for being here, guys. It's a super cool to see what you built on top of Qovery, and we'll try to let as much as possible some time to just show what you did and get the questions from the community as well. So let's go. But first of all, for like all the newcomers, so Qovery is basically like the missing abstraction layer, I would say, on top of AWS and the other cloud providers. As a developer, you know that the job of the developer is not like to do like infrastructure stuff, plumbing stuff, but mostly like building, responding to business needs by using their knowledge in terms of code, and so coding applications. And then when it's time to deploy the application, then it could be like quite painful. And the idea of Qovery is to make sure that any developers can deploy their application on AWS in just a few seconds. So by connecting your GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket accounts, you can just select the repository that you have, the different dependencies like the database, and then from that you can deploy your application. There is no technical infrastructure knowledge to have to use Qovery and take advantage of the cloud. Just to give you like the full picture of Qovery, we manage your deployment from the build to the scale. So obviously it runs on your cloud accounts, but you can so build the applications, deploy it, run it, and scaling it. It's super important. Then you get the full picture. Obviously, if you are writing tests, you have to write the test, but we execute the test in the build stage, and then we give you access to the error or not. So we combine at the same time the CI and the CD platform into one single application. So it's quite straightforward and easy to use for any developer. So yeah, just to give you like the key benefits. So blazingly fast, you can give it a try by yourself. It's we have like a free version where you can use it on your cloud account. It's configurable, so in 30 minutes, so it's automatically configure on your own cloud account. It's super simple in terms of interface. We work a lot on the developer experience itself, and it's scalable. More you have like people in your team, more you can use it and take advantage of Qovery, because we have several notions that were made for like teams of developers. So as always, I would like to thank a lot so the community, because without our community members and our ambassadors, I think we'll not be like where we are today. In just 2 years, we have like more than 12,000 developers using the platform in more than 100 countries. It's super cool, super great. So thanks a lot. Thanks to our ambassador that are taking the time to just make sure that any member can like use the platform. So thanks to Agis, Kartik, Stunner, all of you, even like the new ones that we are going to get into the ambassador program, so Jambank, for instance. So thanks a lot, guys. It's great what you're doing, because that's what makes Qovery super easy to use for anyone. So thanks. So what's new in Qovery for October 2021? So you know that we are a startup, and like each day counts, each week count, and each month you can deliver a lot. And what I have to announce is something that I didn't announce it officially, but we launched it yesterday. That's great. It's concerning the clone environment stuff. So basically, we have a bit like a feature that makes like anyone's super easy to clone an environment. So, for instance, you have your production environment. If you want to get like a staging environment coming from like the production one, then you just have in one click the possibility to do that. I'm maybe gonna like show you that at the end of the community call, because I want to let like some rooms to George and Alexander. But I'm going to also I'm writing an article right now to show you all the possibilities of this feature. It's a great feature that the team were working on during the last week. So I'm super excited to just to show you that, because it's super powerful. So that's great. We also so if you have like any question, just feel free, obviously, because I'm spinning a lot in terms of content. But if you have like any question, as always, use the ask question tab on the right. So it's great. So concerning another things that we did, so we were like focusing during the last 12, last 2 years on the developer itself, but we are also working with more and more SREs, DevOps people. They need to understand deeply how Qovery works to integrate that into the company. And this is where we decided to really reveal and make like the solution as transparent as possible, to make sure that they can like adopt and use the platform and extend it. It's very important. And what we did is that we write like some contents explaining that, but you also know that we have open source the deployment engine. So the deployment engine is in charge of deploying the applications on the cloud account of our customers. You get access to that, but the idea is to give you like the full power, the full documentations to take advantage of it. So that's what we did. I will share with you guys the link of those documentation. But what's good about that is that you can now understand deeply how Qovery works. Hey, Mika, it's good to see you guys. Hey, Benjamin. So yeah, if you have like any question on that, just feel free to ask. I'm going to move on, but yeah, at the end you will be able to ask if you want. So that was like a super important point, because most of our like user and customers knew, that AWS is not super cheap. When you start to use it for real, then you have to pay, obviously. It's like a production like infrastructure that they are providing with good availability number. But all those things are the price. But the idea of Qovery, because we are aligned on the interest of our customers and our users, is to make sure that they have like the best things, so the best infrastructure stack, but at the right cost. And we worked a lot during like the last month on optimizing on the cloud cost optimization. So making sure that you are even if you are starting to deploy like very small applications like a backend or just a front end or a database, then you don't have to pay like $300 per month, because it was the case before, because we need like to install dependency on your cloud account. And now we can like we divided that by two, because now we have just reduced the memory and the CPU footprint from our tools into your infrastructure. So we are really working on that. It's just the beginning. We have like a few other things that we want to integrate, but it's going in the right direction. That's great. So yeah. In terms of as always, like it's the full quarter, so we are working a lot on the experience, the developer experience. I think it's too the community call is too short to explain every single details that we made. But what you can do is that we have started to publish the changelog newsletter, so you can get access to all the single details that we made. Developer experience is great. That's why we have like George and Alexander. They are working at the upper level on top of Qovery, but still it's like a very huge topic that we really consider. We have people that are working all day long on this experience, and we we did that for like the last month. So if you want, still I will share like the changelog link. You will see all the things that we improve. It's a lot of different things that we improve. So yeah, that's how it works. So yeah, concerning the next things, I'm not like showing so much like details about the products, because I want to, yeah, to move fast on that part, because we are going to, and we communicate a lot on Discord and through our blog. So you will get access to all the link at the end of the community call. But what we are working on during the next week, so still focusing on the developer experience. Obviously, it's our main goal for the quarter until the end of the year. But also like improving the debugging experience, because it could be like quite painful today. You don't have like what we call a pipeline view is what we are working on, but today is a bit flat, meaning that if you like build the application, you deploy it, and then you have like all the different steps, then it takes like it can take some time. And when you have something that is failing, you don't really know if it fails on your side, on our side. And the idea is to give you visibility, to make like super simple to get access to the right information at the right time when something goes wrong. So that's what we are working on. It's super, super, super important. Oh, it's mistake. And the last thing is the deployment rules. So deployment rules means you will be able in the future release to choose the different deployment policy of your environment. Meaning, for instance, if you want to manually deploy like an environment, or if you want to deploy each time that you receive like a Git event, you will be able to like manage that in a different way. Um, I think we already covered that topic before, but yeah, I will share like more details in the coming weeks, because it's now more and more concrete. So that's great. Any question on that, guys? No question. Everyone is a super scientist today. It's great. Okay. So now, yeah, this is the things that where I wanted to go and move fast. It was like much more faster than before. Most of the time, we take the time to show like the product and stuff like that. But I really wanted to show what George and Alexander are doing with Catwalk. So I'm super pleased to have you guys. If you want to maybe introduce yourself once again, because now it's the good time. And if you want to show what you are working on, then it's perfect.
Okay. Alex, did you want to say anything?
Sure. I'll just, my name's Alex Mcknight. I'm with Blunt Software. I've been developing software for a little over 20 years. We built an application that we hope to demo to you today. It's primarily focused with Angular 11 as a front end and Spring as a back end. There'll be two separate applications that will be generated with Catwalk, which is our code generator. We also have a video of this whole process, this demo that you're about to see. I went ahead and pasted that in the chat. I'm not sure if did that make it? Did that link make it?
Yeah, I think you can even like maybe share your screen if you want, Alexander. I guess you have the possibility to share your screen if you want to.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he just wanted to give
Yeah.
everyone the link in case they want to watch that afterwards.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I pasted it in the chat, but it doesn't look like it came up. But anyway, that's all from me. I'll leave it over to George.
Yep. Okay, and I'm George. Alex and I are obviously brothers, and we've been developing software together for about 20 years. And like I said a little bit earlier, is that Alex predominantly works on the Spring and Hibernate back end, and I work on the front end with Angular and that sort of thing. And we build several database applications, probably in the neighborhood of about 350 in the last 10 years, that are just based on a database and have like an Angular or Vue or React, or even built some applications on Meteor and things like that. So given all of that, we thought it was a really good fit to work with Qovery, because we see the next big issue after we've created one of these applications is to deploy it. And whether it's to DigitalOcean or Amazon or wherever it is that you plan to deploy, there's always a lot of basically ins and outs that you have to learn. And so we thought it would be nice to pair with something that does that well. And at this point, we think now you can focus on the important parts of your application, get inside and make the changes that you need to make, and just commit them, and everything just goes and gets deployed, and you don't have to worry about so much. So we see that as being a big part of our future. Now, I don't know if can I share now? Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you can. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to share. Oh, it doesn't allow me to share my screen, or oh yeah, share screen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. All right. An infinite loop here. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yeah,
Yes.
perfect.
Yes. Okay. So as you notice, I'm here at catwalk.bluntsoftware.com, and this is also a if you go up here to the right, you'll see that this can also be opened as an application. And basically from here, we just say generate an application. There's two types of applications that we build. One is Spring and one is Angular, right? So obviously if normally you want to keep those two separate. So in this case, I'm going to build a Spring application. So this is for the back end, and I'm just going to call this historic event service. And we'll go to next. And then we worry about what our model is. So this is where we're going to import, the model that we plan to use. And, for the purposes of the demo, we just have some JSON that we're just going to use here. You obviously have the choice that you can do it from an application or from another model that you have saved somewhere. But, just for this, we'll just put the JSON in here. And of course, once you import that, it brings that model in so you can see it. You can change the name of what this table is. And so in this case, we're just saving events. So we're going to save it as event. And then I'm going to add a field here. We'll just add an ID field. So it's our primary key. And I'll drag it up here to the top. And I'm going to make that, the primary key. So once we've done that, we now have a model to base our application on. So from this, we can just go to the next tab, and we see that we want to set up, the artifact name and everything. And I'm just going to say that the package name is shortened to historic. We'll pick Java version 11. We'll see that we're working off of Mongo. Now, notice that for every entity that I had, so if I had an event and, whatever it is, a customer and a job or something, I could have a REST controller and, everything for each one of those. So in this case, I'm just going to pick the REST controller and the batch processor, and then we'll go ahead and say next to that. Now, if you are associated with another organization, you can do that here, but I'm not going to worry about that. And then here we see that, you know, all of this basically is everything that we need to build this. So now I can tell this to push. It's going to push the server code up to, you know, GitHub. And then if you were to go here, you could say, actually go view that code, right? So you'll see that it has all this stuff that it built and put up there, controllers and repositories and the model and everything that it needs to build a basic application. So if we now go back to Catwalk, I'm going to go here and say that I want to create another application. This one is the Angular front end for that. So again, we're going to say historic. And then we'll say event. And here I'm just going to say UI and say historic UI. So based on that, we do the same thing here with the entity, but instead of doing all that over again, I'm just going to say, go get that from the event service. And so we'll click that one and say import. And so now we have the same model for our front end that matches our back end, right? So the front end will, you know, tie right into the back end. And here we want to show tables and forms for our entities. Like again, if there were multiple entities, we'd be able to click all of them. So then we're going to select that. Again, we don't have an organization, but I'm just going to go ahead and save and close here. And we're going to push that. So now we have a front end application and a back end application that use the same model. And so if we were to go look at this, you see again, there's a bunch of source files, but this is all Angular. And notice that we have an event. So we've got form components and table components and everything that need to go with that. So now that we've got all of that information, I'm just going to go back to our service here, and I'm going to go down here to Qovery, which is just going to log us into Qovery here. But I'm going to use that same GitHub account to log into Qovery, and you see that I have a you know, a demo set up here, and I'm going to create another environment. We'll just call this demo. And then based on that environment, I'm going to add an application. The first one I'm going to add is our backend. So historic event demo. And then we'll say that we'll pull that from GitHub. And then if I go here and just type in historic, we'll see that we have our historic event service. I want the Catwalk branch. And I'm going to use the Docker file. And I'm just going to set this up to 9094 as our port. So once I create that, I can go back to here and I can create a database. So I'm going to create a, you know, Mongo database. And we'll just select Mongo here. We're going to pick the latest version, which is 4.4. And then we're going to say create. And so if we go back, now we have our backend and our database configured. If I go into this service, I can create an environment variable for that database. So here we see the database URL. I'm going to create an alias for that. And I'm just going to say that this is MongoDB URL. And that's how we've associated this inside of the application. So we'll associate that to the environment. And so now our application will know how to get to that database. The next thing that I would do is create the other application, which is our UI. So I'm going to say historic event MOUI. And again, we're going to GitHub. We're going to just type in historic here, and we see the UI there. We also want the Catwalk branch. We also want to use the Docker file. But in this case, we want to use port 80. And so now we'll have an application, you know, running on 9094, providing our backend service to the database, a user interface running on port 80 and connected to the Mongo database. And so given all of that, you know, in the interest of time, I'm not going to go and deploy all these and show you how all those start up. But basically, you know, all that builds out of the box is, let's see if I had, Yeah. Okay. So the back end has a Swagger document inside, so you can see what the different, get, post, delete, all the things that the server can do. It has pagination for, web-based pagination, things like that. And then, of course, the front end looks something like this. And, we have here a kind of a splash screen. We have documentation where you could, and all this is kind of built into the app out of the box. And then, of course, once you hit this sign up and log in with your GitHub, you can go down to the events and you'll see this event table. And we have the ability to say, 10/28, 2021, and some event that we're logging, and we're going to do it in English, for example. So then once you save that, it saves it to the database here. You have the ability to delete it, clone it. You could come back and say, delete this one. If you want to edit it, you can just click edit and it'll edit this. So out of the box, we created a single entity, gave it all of the front end capability, tied that to the back end, and everything links through MongoDB. In this case, saves to the database, gives us the ability to open, edit, clone, all those kind of things. And then everything that we want to write on top of that, we can go and customize, put better CSS, make it look pretty, and do everything else. So that's most of what I wanted to show. If you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Yeah, thanks a lot, George. I have one question myself. It's concerning. So if you start to change the model. So let's imagine that I open my IDE and then I start to modify the model from the backend. So it's a Spring application. What is it working? Can I edit the model myself manually and then it will be reflected on the interface, and the how does it work? What happens?
Yes, you can. So basically, this is Alex, sorry. You can edit the model on the back end, and then in Catwalk, there is a button to update. And what that will do is that will pull whatever change you made from GitHub to the model and actually bring that in and add that as part of the model. So it's able to update itself. So you don't have, in other words, if you wanted to say introduce another variable or another entity, you could do that from Catwalk, or you could just create that new entity in your code and then tell Catwalk to update itself based on that change that you made. And it really does only look at the model. It doesn't interfere with anything else in terms of the code that was generated. So George can show you here. George, if you just go to a application, one of your apps, okay, and then click on a backend service, a Spring app.
Okay, this one.
Yeah, that's fine. And then go up to the 3 dots, top right, and then see that update button right there. That will pull in any model changes that happen into your app.
Okay, super clear. Okay.
Right.
Okay. And is it like a technology that you showed, so the demo is with Spring on the back end and Angular on the front end, but is it working with any other technology? Can you use, for instance, React, or I don't know, like a framework, because React is is a library, but can you use another framework, web framework, to interface with Catwalk, or?
Yeah, so basically, it's only Spring and Angular right now. One of the nice things is obviously you could have your own backend and from whatever you want to deploy, and you could use the model that you have there and create an Angular front end for that if you wanted to with the code generator. And it could also go reverse. You could have your own front end and use the back end Spring application that you would want to talk to. But we do only focus on Spring and Angular at this time.
Right. I think the point there, though, is that they are decoupled completely. So you could make a React front end to his Spring back end, or you could make a some other back end to our Angular front end, right? They're
Yeah,
completely decoupled. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's not a. It's maybe like the main difference with some frameworks that I've seen. I'm not like a full stack developer myself. I'm mostly like a backend one, but I've seen like some framework like Blitz.js, uh, where they combine like they combine the backend and the front end at the same time. They auto generate the code for both, and then they have like an RPC or something like that connection between the both. They manage for you like the connection. But what's cool about Catwalk is that you take like existing like framework. It could be like existing technology like a Spring and Angular. They are like decoupled like technology, and then you make sure that you generate and you make the connections without like changing the way that developers are like using those platforms. So that's pretty good.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm actually, like I said, I'm a front end developer, so I can take Alex's Spring backend generated from Catwalk and use it with React or Angular or Vue or anything that I want to, and just connect to that. There's no coupling done at all, so I can do anything I want in terms of that.
it looks like Benjamin had a nice little saying there. He said, "What do we need devs for with code generators and Qovery? We don't need DevOps. Let's let the product managers do all the work." Um, yeah, that's funny. But obviously, it is just a skeleton app that's being built. So you would have to put your business logic on the back end. When it does build the Spring app, it does build it into application layers. So you have sort of the model, the DAO, the controller, and the service for where you would put your business logic. And that's where the meat of developing is anyway. And so that's all we're trying to do is just get you there faster so that you don't have to do a lot of boilerplate. One of the keys to the code that we do generate is that we don't put any special characters or special anything into the code. And it's a challenge, but the idea is you could just disconnect Catwalk altogether and then take your app to wherever you want it, and it's not dependent on anything. It's not dependent on any libraries that we have, only publicly sourced libraries, of course. So it is a very big point to the code generator.
Hmm. That's pretty interesting. I think it's the same philosophy with Qovery. It's basically if you remove Qovery, even if you started to use it, because behind the scene we are using like only like open source projects. So it's a Kubernetes, vanilla Kubernetes running on your infrastructure. We are using Terraform, we generate the configuration files, and we give you access to all those files. And if you want to just get rid of Qovery for some reason, then you are ready. So nothing will happen to your application or your infrastructure will still run. That's pretty in the same. I think it's the future. Like trying to, it's the opposite as lock-in. It's really being like free of letting the customer like choosing the tools that they want to use. But at the same time, you know that if you provide like great experience, if your product works, then they will stay and stick to your platform. So that's really good. I really like this the way that you're doing that, guys. It's great. I think it's the right way of building software today. And that's maybe something that you should consider also to take a look at is I don't know if you're familiar with Dagger. Dagger is the new open source project launched by Solomon Hikes. It's the same. It's instead of like building and creating like one other tool in the ecosystem, is much more like how can we just consolidate like the different tools and make sure that they are glued all together and then work all together. That's the idea.
What's the spelling of that? What is the name of it again?
Dagger, Dagger.io. Let me share.
Ah, right. Okay. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
I've looked at this before. It sounds familiar.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Alex, maybe, yeah. So any questions? So feel free. We are not so much tonight, but still, do you have like any questions for George and Alexander? Maybe if you can share like some links, George, to so how can we get access? So how can our user get access to your platform? Is it like open source? Is it so? Can you like share some details concerning that?
Right. Yeah, I'll leave that one for Alex. I think he's got it set up on, and he could probably configure that if it's at all possible.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it's actually on a public IP right now. I think we don't have the user have it set up for any kind of community thing yet, or anything like that. It's simply to build applications for us right now. But we can certainly, put something or talk about putting a community area up to allow people to try that out. I don't think it's been a real big focus to us right yet, but it can be.
Okay. Okay. Great.
Yeah. Sounds like
Okay.
Alex was disconnected. That's what I just texted him and he said he was disconnected.
Oh, okay. But so yeah, any question, guys? So otherwise, we are good. I just shared so your private email.
Yep, that's
So
perfect.
George, so yeah, if you have like any questions, if you want to contact George or Alexander, just use this email. If you want to contact myself, you know that I'm on Discord by email, by intercom, by whatever you want. It works.
Yeah.
So thank you, George, for being here. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it looks like Alex posted that YouTube link and that just showed up now in the chat. So
Oh, that's great. Okay.
yeah. Yep.
So that's great because they will be like recorded. Then everyone can get access if they want to look at the record. So that's great.
Perfect.
Yeah. So thank you, George. Thank
Yep,
you, Alexander.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Take care of you, and thanks to the community. Thanks everyone for being here, and so we catch up next month. Take care.
Yep. Thank you.